Alright, hello everyone. This is another one of my little commentary pieces. And I really fancied playing some Smoke today. And that's exactly what we're going to have. But I couldn't decide which game I wanted to play him. And I think one of his more famous additions probably belongs to MK9. And you know what? MK9 is one of my favourite games anyway, so what better time to do it? Now, Smoke's a character that obviously a lot of people will know historically for having one of the true sort of reset death combos. And the reason I'm pausing this first is because I'm having to remind myself what the shake input is. Reason for that is because Smoke's often regarded as one of the game's best anti-zoners. I would definitely say the best, because it's just the existence of the evasive teleport, a teleport that you can use as an attack, and then the shake, which will just absorb projectiles. So if you're against someone like Freddy, and the Freddy player just wants to sit full screen and throw gloves at you, then the shake will completely nullify that. It will force Freddy to go in for more of his up-close pressure, which, to be fair, years down the line, turns out is probably some of the absolute best mix in the game anyway, so always a weird one about Freddy. I think back in the game's prime time, Freddy was regarded as almost like just a zoner, but the more people sort of play and figure out MK9 as the years go by, Freddy is definitely one of the most well-rounded characters, because he's got evasive tools, good projectiles, but at the same time has this kind of insane overhead low mix, that can lead into massive combos. So there's a reason Freddy's often regarded as top 5, especially in my opinion. But this first match for me is kind of like refreshing my memory on how to play the character. I really was never a Smoke player. I always knew a lot about the character because he was quite a popular character because of his damage output. However, as a player, I definitely don't have much of the old execution. I get a couple of the resets here and there, but a lot of it is just kind of me remembering what the character can do and kind of applying what I would have done against me for years and years. And yeah, the gloved hand constantly going the wrong way, that did make me laugh a little bit. I kind of just sit here and test the waters on the AI. I truly don't know what the AI does against the EX shake, so I guess the answer to that question is not much. But it's a pretty comfortable first game. This arcade run, it's very rarely about the AI difficulty, and I think MK9 in particular is definitely one of the easier games to beat a full tower on. I'd actually go as far to say as I think MK9 is like the easiest, because back in this time, the AI were just so vulnerable to jumps, So if you had a couple of decent combos, you could kind of just jump all over them and hit down fours. The AI never respects like frame advantage and stuff like that. Sometimes you skip intros with start in other games, so I kind of remembered in MK9 you don't have to do that. But Cyber Sub-Zero, this is me kind of again just trying to remember how to do some of these resets. Essentially, the way you get a lot of the resets to work is a really sort of late juggle, and if they're really close to the floor, you essentially do Smoke's forward 4 string. It's kind of that like double kick that you can see. If you time the enhanced smoke bomb right, instead of OTGing, which it normally does for a bit of extra damage, it kind of just counts as a completely brand new combo, and that's why Smoke's damage output is like so scary in this game, because he really is, if he has meter, can be true touch of death, because you can loop it multiple times. I don't loop it multiple times in this video, mostly because the AI either just dies or the combo ends early just so I can cash out my damage. If you go and watch any old competitive Smoke footage, you'll definitely see Smoke players go in for like the double reset, and it's just ridiculous. But Smoke's such a weird character because some would say that's just your fault for getting hit. Smoke doesn't really have any mix-ups. That's always been considered his sort of design in this game, is that he doesn't have like loads of mix-ups to open you up. He has a decent throw, but at the end of the day, the overhead is what you have to watch out for. He has no threatening lows at all. The only low that you'll see a lot of people use in competitive was his down 4. And the reason you get hit by so many down 4s is because one overhead is going to do the damage of probably like 30 down 4s that hit you. So it does create quite a funny little game of, are you going to do it or not? This rain fight, I can't quite remember how it goes. I think this round was actually really weirdly messy because the AI Rain just does stuff that you would never see Rain players ever do, which I think is always funny about these arcade runs. But look at that, what kind of a combo is that, Rain? An early jump kick, and the reaction and the move reading, this was sick. This was sick. It wasn't sick, it was horrible, but it was, a prime AI example. Now here's the thing, if this was a real match, I'd be like, bro, you just messed up. because you got no meter, and I got 3 bars. AI is doing the H2O boost, which gives Rain more damage, but it prevents his ability to block. That's just like, if I was a really good Smoke player, you're just asking for the reset, mate. But this is the setup, really. This kind of thing where you get a lot of juggles, and then you get a late Smoke Bomb, and then you kind of time them falling down into a forward 4. Now, I don't really have consistent timing on that, and I think the screen positioning also will make a pretty substantial difference. If they're too close, it might not work. As you can see, it kind of just comboed in the corner. But that's always the funny thing about Smoke, kind of like Cyrax. If you don't get the reset, and it just either does a combo damage ender or it OTGs for the extra bit of damage, it's still really good damage. So it's like, yeah, you're not going to get the death combo, but you're still getting a really good amount of damage anyway. And this is very much just, I'm just realizing that AI Rain is doing tons of the boost. I'm just like, okay, well, fair enough, mate. Try to reset it again from the anti-air. And that's where Smoke gets really scary, actually. The fact that he can pretty much turn any touch into it. His anti-air game is pretty fantastic. Like, his standing 2 is a really good anti-air, and his down 1, you can kind of just do a bunch of dash down 1, about 2 or 3, kind of depending on height. And this was, yeah, me thinking, wait a minute, this AI is free to my down 3s. So I did a lot. It's always fun to just mess around in these arcade towers, to be honest with you. But Jax, I think, if I remember correctly, I actually do get the proper reset. I think it's in the first round. I wanted to get it at least once. Like I said, I'm not really a Smoke player. Not an MK9 anyway. I can play Smoke in some of the other games, but definitely not this one. But I do get the sort of standard generic reset, if you will. So you go boom, 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 forward 4. Hey, there you go. And that's what it is. That's what it's meant to be. As you can see, for the cost of 1 bar, I did basically all of that damage. And that's where Smoke's resets come from. You just do that enhanced Smoke Bomb, and if you've got the timing right and the positioning right, there is a chance it will do it. Now, it's been a long time since I researched it and even knew about it, to be honest, but the biggest thing about Smoke's resets is that they are a bit inconsistent, to say the least. Sometimes you'll have the right height, and it still just won't activate. It will just OTG and finish the combo. So sometimes you'll have the height where it really, really looks like it's going to work, but it just won't. And we often would say that that reset just wasn't meant to be, you know. And it's why it's hard to sort of compare Smoke to Cyrax, for example, because Cyrax's reset combos can deal, you do them, right? They're simple execution, so you learn the combo, and however difficult that combo might be, and you can still do it. So I think I'd try and go for it here. I don't know why I somehow messed up down back 2. I'm the world's greatest video gamer. Now, if that was a human Jax, I would have been dead there, because he would have done the enhanced ground pound, which would have OTG'd and killed me for free. And I didn't know how to combo into X-Ray here, so I just did it on its own. Just on the off chance that someone's watching it thinking, hang on a minute, what does Smoke's X-Ray look like? To be honest with you, a lot of the X-Rays in MK9 aren't the most interesting. I personally like that, because they're just kind of like an extra little super attack. They're not like a super, you know, they're not super over the top, but it's just this nice little kind of flare. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like classic Mortal Kombat fatalities that are over in seconds. I much prefer those. This Sonja matchup is hilarious. I hadn't fought AI Sonja in forever, and I'm literally sitting there at full screen just watching it, going, what is this AI doing? I'm just letting them swing all these different buttons and just want to see when they end. And I think we're going to get a little bit of that soon. When we're at full screen, and there's no energy rings, like, just whiffs the air dive kick into leg grab. Now, that wake-up cartwheel, that's something that everyone would do. Wake-up cartwheels, without question, one of the most busted wake-up attacks in the whole game. Yeah, this is a bit of a messy game, this one. So, not really much to go into. But look, this is what I mean. Like, it literally looks like you've just given your friends the controller, and they're just pressing all these different buttons to try and figure out what to do. Like, that's what AI Sonja looks like. OTG. Boom. That was the original intended design of enhanced Smoke Bomb. It's meant to be just an extra way to get a little bit of extra damage, you know. Obviously, the reset combos are completely unintentional, but it makes the character who he is, so it's a really interesting, like, significant part of the game's history was Smoke's damage. There's loads and loads of Smoke players you could watch. Oh yeah, check it out. The double shake. just presses buttons. Disrespecting the AI. I'm an absolute mad lad. But what I was going to say before this match ends, notable Smoke players that you can look into. This is something I think a really good opportunity for me during these kind of sit down and talk about the games and the characters in a much more casual fashion. Obviously, you know, rest assured, just because I'm doing a Smoke arcade run doesn't mean I'm not going to cover Smoke in competitive history. I have every intention of covering every character in Mortal Kombat. But let's talk about some notable Smoke players that you can sort of punch into YouTube, and whether you will or will not find any kind of gameplay from them, I don't know. Some videos are gone, you know, because they've been up for so long. Sometimes footage was mostly on forums, and those forum those forum posts are no more. So you might need to do a little bit of searching. But the main Smoke player that a lot of people know really was GGA Waffles. He was one of the more prominent, successful members of the Chicago scene back in the day. And some people really considered the #1 Smoke player. So GGA Waffles, definitely look into his gameplay. You can find a lot of that on YouTube. And in fact, he was the Smoke player that got top 8 at the Combo Breaker sort of MK9 reunion tournament. Oh my god, I forgot that interaction happened right there with Kenshi. But yeah, so there was the Mortal Kombat 9 reunion tournament where Kerbo won. But we definitely saw kind of the return of some really prominent MK9 legends. You know, Dizzy was there. We saw quite a few players that a lot of people would remember, and Waffles was definitely like the premier Smoke player. However, there was also Smoke X. I'm trying to remember exactly what tournament it was, but there was a really famous tournament where Smoke X and Rio were playing in grand finals, and it was Cabal versus Smoke. And I think it's safe to say, for a lot of people at the time, that was one of the more impressive Smoke displays I think we'd ever seen. And you have to keep in mind, like, this was before the days of the extreme amount of content that we now have. You know, even YouTube wasn't as much of a thing back then. You know, we're talking 10 years, or maybe even longer at this point. So seeing players of characters that are really pushing the boundaries, it actually wasn't something that you saw all the time. And because of the old school netcode, it was very hard to practice some characters because, you know, you're trying to learn Smoke's reset combos and you're playing in variable delay depending on the connection and the opponent that you're fighting. It's going to be almost impossible to get that stuff consistent. It's why a lot of players and characters like Rain suffered because of it. Scarlet definitely suffered because of it. If the netcode was really good, we definitely would have seen Scarlet thrive a lot more, but we just didn't. Yeah, I totally forgot that Noob Saibot's just vibing in the background of this stage. But yeah, anyway. So you got Smoke X and Waffles, and then at the same time there was a UK player, Zarakamaka. Some of you might recognize Zarakamaka through the prime time of the ESL Pro League, being one of the really sort of innovative Liu Kang players from back of the day. You know, loads of people are really good with Liu Kang now, and of course we have players like Ninja Killer, who's without question the best. But that element of like run cancel Liu Kang, Zarakamaka was really one of the first players that was pushing that game plan forward. He started in Mortal Kombat 9 and he had a really, really good Smoke. He was just online only. You know, he'd never gone to any offlines before. I tried to do a cool X-ray combo and obviously didn't realize that it didn't work. Now I just try and chip out because AI doesn't really punish anything worth a damn, so... So yeah, when I think of MK9 Smoke players, I mostly think of Waffles, GJ Waffles. Oh yeah, I forgot, look. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your PC. That's one of my sound alerts that was just playing in the background, and I thought I muted everything, but I guess I didn't. But yeah, GJ Waffles, Smoke X, and Zarakamaka really were sort of the 3 Smoke players that I think of. And I'm fairly certain you should be able to find a decent amount of gameplay from probably all 3 of them, even if it is old. The Shang Tsung fight is, I'm not going to lie, I think it's quite funny. The reason for it is because I got to really, even though it was just the AI, because he becomes Cyrax, I get to sort of demonstrate the matchup style that Smoke's really good at. So against Cyrax, Smoke is actually, in particular, very strong at fighting Cyrax because you can just do retreating Smoke away every time. Wake up Smoke away, which is really powerful. I hit the AI Shang Tsung with the reset combo as well. And then everything can just be reacted to, right? So teleport with punish, punish the teleport, and obviously just win that round. And I think in the next round we see a bit more morphing into Cyrax, where every single net is a shake, every single projectile is a shake, and you're constantly just evading, and Cyrax kind of struggles to catch you. Teleport's very unsafe, so, you know, you're not going to see, like, real human Cyrax players do that so much, but I always thought this was one of the funnier rounds in the whole run, because Shang Tsung just gets absolutely bodied. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, okay, you want to go invisible? Fine, I'll just sit full screen. I'm going to shake those projectiles if you do them. You're going to become Cyrax? Are you going to do it net? Oy. You do another one? Oy. See, AI is not too smart. AI is not very clever. Oy. Give me one more. I thought he was going to wake up attack. No joke. And then I remember it's Shang Tsung, and Shang Tsung's wake up game is terrible. Oy. That's right. Disrespect that AI. Stupid AI. Look at it. Shang Tsung got no choice but to sit and watch it. But it's one of the elements that makes Smoke actually a little bit better. If I'm trying to play Smoke at a higher level, you're going to be smoking away, playing a very full screen heavy game, constantly checking with smoke bombs, and reacting to any kind of projectiles that get thrown. It's why he's such an unbelievably good counter zoner. For the sake of YouTube, it's not going to be the funnest thing for you to watch. So kind of just jump around and do combos, which I think for the sake of an arcade run is probably a little bit more entertaining. Goro, I don't know how this one goes. The boss characters tend to be the easier characters to fight. Kind of with any character. I've covered it a long time ago now, but bosses are extremely vulnerable to just jumping over and just getting used to what moves have infinite armor and which ones don't. So you're just looking for the right attacks, really. I try and go for a reset here. I don't know if it works the same against bosses, I'm not going to lie. But hey, we get to see Goro's X-ray. Also, peep that damage. It's like 70%. Eesh! Oh, that hurts. Oh, good lord, that hurts. But it's the only thing you're really going to see for big damage. The bosses don't really do much else. Their whole idea is to chuck armored moves at you and work your health bar down that way, right? And at this point, I'm like, I don't even know if it works against the bosses. Because the bosses have, you know, different wake-up systems, and when I say that, they actually don't have wake-ups at all. It's why they are quite prone to infinites. Noob Saibot can infamously do a portal reset infinite against every boss except for Shao Kahn. So he'll kind of make short work of them, really. And the rest of this is just going to be your generic. Jump in, do BMB, get some damage, jump over again, with punish with Smoke Bomb. It's all really, really basic stuff, but Smoke is such a cool character in this game. He really is. It's one of Smoke's most interesting designs. I feel like actually for me, this is his most interesting design, because it's the one game plan that I would say has like the biggest amount of personal identity. And I think that's really important, because if you look at Smoke in a lot of the other games, a lot of his moves are kind of just taken from other characters. Even back in the day, you know, MK3, he was Scorpion but better. We didn't see Smoke again until Deception, if I'm not mistaken. And even in Deception, he had Sector's teleport uppercut still. He had a Smoky Cloud, which was basically just an ice clone. So Smoke, even in that game, and even the fact that he was partnered with Noob Saibot, he still didn't have a huge amount of his own identity. And we wouldn't see his own moveset really become its own thing until this game, where you have the Shake, the unique style of teleport that works a little bit differently to everyone else's because it's so fast, but all it does is cause a simple knockdown. The Smoke Evade, the Smoke Bomb, obviously, which is just huge for him. This is like the most standout appearance of him, by far. Because even if you look at something like Mortal Kombat X, the Smoke in that game, it's part of Triborg, so it's not 100% its own 1000% unique character. And a lot of the moves that are there, it's kind of a mixture. So there's old school moves, and there's some of the MK9 attacks. So, you know, got to give MKX credit where it's due, but MK9 Smoke really is like the most individual appearance of him, and that's really cool. Hopefully I made some sense there. I don't know. I probably did. Now, one thing I didn't cover here, actually, which you saw probably at the very, very beginning, is how good Smoke is at fighting Shao Kahn. There's a rather famous video on YouTube of someone getting a flawless victory on Challenge Tower 300, and they used Smoke to do it. The reason being is Smoke is one of the more evasive characters to fight against the bosses with. You can Smoke Shake, you can teleport, you can create space against Shao Kahn and make it almost completely guaranteed he'll throw a projectile, so the bosses, when you're playing Smoke properly, are probably the easiest to beat by far. I would say Shao Kahn, absolutely. You really need to especially mess up for Shao Kahn to kill you if you're playing a Smoke, because you can quite literally just react to everything, as you can see here. Like, You're either going to teleport, back up, and then with full screen, he's going to throw something else. I don't even need to say it. You can see it. Boom. And then we just do it one more time. AI doesn't learn too good. But that was just a little bit of MK9 Smoke. Hopefully you learned something today. Always nice jumping down memory lane and talking about notable players, notable events. Chuck all the players I mentioned into YouTube and you'll definitely see some far better Smoke gameplay than what I gave you. However, thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.
Shao Kahn's violent death shook the very core of Smoke's being and dislodged his earliest memories. Tomas Rabada was only a boy when he was abducted by an obscure cult and sacrificed to a demon. Burned alive, he returned to the mortal realm as an Anenra, a creature of smoke and vapor. His captors were helpless against his shapeless form as he lashed out with rage, killing them all. His murder avenged, he returned to his human form, remembering nothing of his former life. Now aware of his true identity, Smoke understands he is no mere assassin. His destiny has been revealed.